Hello dear chess friends. The World Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen has started, and today I'm going to show you first and second games that they have played. Let's start with game 1. Jan Nepomniachtchi was white and he went for e4. I think it was quite expected for everybody because e4 is main move for Jan, and Magnus Carlsen played e5, which is also, I think, more or less predictable because Magnus is positional chess player, so I don't think it's interesting for him to go for complications against Nepomniachtchi, who has great fantasy, great creativity in chess. So time to time Magnus plays c5, but I don't expect c5 to. I don't expect to see c5 in this match. Just once. So e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, Ruy Lopez defense, or as we call it in Russia, Spanish opening. A6 is an interesting moment because nowadays Berlin defense is quite popular, which appears after knight f6 move. But Carlsen went for the main line of Ruy Lopez. Bishop a4, knight f6, castling, bishop e7, rook e1, b5, bishop b3, castling h3. And here we have first interesting stop. Knight a5. We cannot call this as main move, really far from that. But it's possible move. White kind of forced to take the pawn on e5, because otherwise black takes on b3 and he has a very good position with bishop pair. So knight takes e5 is forced, knight takes b3, a takes b3, bishop b7 attacking the pawn on e4. So white has to play d3. d5, once again attacking the pawn on e4. So once again white is forced to take on d5. Queen takes d5, threatening the mate on g2. And in case if white would play something like knight f3, then I think after any move, bishop d6 or rook e8, black has decent compensation for the pawn. He has bishop pair and interesting play. So that's why it makes sense for white to trade the queens. And he does that by playing queen f3, bishop d6, making some pressure on e5, and threatening even not bishop takes e5, but queen takes e5. So then bishop from b7 is attacking queen on f3. And now we have, like, if you, I don't know if you saw the game in broadcast, white did a very strange move and black did kind of same. So white went for king f1, which seems to be weird. But the idea is quite simple. Queen takes e5, queen takes b7, and after queen h2 there is no check. And the funny thing that after knight c3 white is better. Also, of course, probably it's preparation, black's preparation, because without preparation going for such position, I wouldn't feel myself comfortable as white, because king is queen h1 check. But actually Then king e2, bishop e3, and everything is fine for white. It's important that queen is protecting g2 pawn. So that's why by playing king f1, just it's a move which is preventing queen takes e5. And funny move by black, rook b8. Black insists. Once again, he can do queen takes e5. Then bishop attacking the queen. So white is forced to take on d5. Knight takes d5. Bishop d2. Knight c3 is too early because of knight b4. So bishop d2 seems to be quite logical move. c5. Knight f3. Rook d8. Rook did its job on b8. So now black is putting the rook on semi-open file, making some pressure on d3 pawn in future. At some point there is idea of c4. Knight c3, knight b4. So anyway, white needs to develop this knight. So knight c3, knight b4 attacking the pawn on c2. Rook c1 protecting the pawn. And rook c8. We can say that just developing the last piece. And here we can make a short stop. Because we can say that, also it's hard to say that opening stage is over. Maybe it was over some time ago, but at least black finished his development. He has improved all his pieces. White did, we can say, the same. Also, of course, we would prefer to have this rook somewhere on e1 instead of protecting this pawn. But still, we can say a few words about position on the board. So white is a pawn up, but black has decent compensation. He has powerful bishop pair. His pieces are well placed. And also there is a concrete problem with pawn on c2. So always white needs to keep an eye on this pawn. White's dream is quite simple here. All he needs is just to trade some pieces, so then he will be able to convert his extra pawn. Black's idea, keep pressing, and maybe with some initiative he will be able to force some exchanges or getting back the pawn. Point the game was knight e2. Maybe bishop b4 is a possibility, or another option is d4. Knight c6, maybe just in case. And here white did bishop e3, although it was better to play bishop f4. And once he played bishop e3, after knight e7, some way he went for bishop f4. Also probably he wasn't happy with his position. And actually, Jan Nepomniachtchi is, let's say, attacking chess player. He likes to have initiative. Playing, of course, he has great technique, it's no doubts, but still playing endgames against Carlsen, I don't really think it's something that he needs in this match. So this position probably he wasn't happy about, and also it's not only he wasn't happy about this position, but it's actually white is slightly better, but nothing serious. It's not like healthy extra pawn, which is easy to convert. So, but bishop f4 still is a bad move, because then black got even slightly better position. After bishop takes f3, pawn takes f3, bishop takes f4, and knight f4. Yes, white was able to trade black's bishop pair, so this is his achievement. But on the other hand, he got bad pawn structure on the king side, and this is not something to be happy about, because it's quite easy for black to attack these pawns. Rook e1, knight f5. Yes, by the way, another problem that black knight has very great square on d4, and his colleague knight on f4 hasn't any perspective. So c3 protecting against knight d4, knight h4 attacking the pawn on f3, rook e3 protecting the pawn. And here it was interesting moment. Maybe black could have played slightly better than he did in the game by playing king f8, just protecting back rank. But it was better option of playing g6. And by the way, interesting one. Idea is, in the game after king f8, white played knight g2, knight f5, and rook e5 attacking the knight on f5. So black has no time to take the pawn on d3. And if he would start with g6, then white doesn't have such opportunity of playing knight g2, because then there is knight f5. Knight g2, knight f5, rook e5, g6. Knight e1 protecting the pawn on d3. And actually, I wouldn't say like during this game any of sides had any chances to win, and like there is no advantage for any of player here. So white is a pawn up, but like first of all we need to find which one is his extra pawn, and of course pawn structure on the king side is something terrible. So always black has decent counterplay. Another important thing, by the way, that we have the knights on the board. And knight is a piece which highlights problems of pawn structure. So like it would be a bit easier for white if to have this position without knights. Knight g7, rook e4, f5, rook e3, 6, g2, protecting f4 square, not allowing black knight to go to f4, knight g2. But now black did another nice move, b4, fighting for the d4 square. So of course for white c takes b4 or c4 not possible at all. King e2, rook b8, aiming b3 pawn. And once again, in case of c takes b4, black can even take by rook on b4 or by pawn, it's fine. Then d4 square is weak, then probably black would have chances to win the game. So that's why it's important to take control over d4 square, and white played king d2, just giving pawn back. King c2, rook b7, h4, just covering g5 square. And now king f6, knight e3. And here, as we say in chess, players found each other. And after rook d6, knight c4, they agreed for draw. Maybe this game seems a bit boring, but this is chess nowadays. It's really hard to prepare something serious, and sometimes black is able to surprise. And like here, white got slightly better position, but it was difficult to get something out of this position. So draw is normal result for the first game. It wasn't any chances for white or black. So let's take a look at the second game. Second game, Carlsen was playing white, and this game definitely was much more exciting than the first one. Let's see what happened. Magnus went for d4, and this is, by the way, first interesting moment. Knight f6, c4, and e6. Jan Nepomniachtchi, well known as a Grunfeld player, but probably for the match he has prepared Nimzo Indian. Since g6, g6 is okay nowadays. I mean, g6 followed by d5, and we get Grunfeld defense, and it's okay. But for the match for the world champion title, maybe it's too dangerous, because there we play move by move, while e6 is very solid thing. Also, we should admit that as far as I remember, Jan didn't play anything like that. So not his cup of tea. Knight f3, d5, g3. This is Catalan opening. Bishop e2, bishop g5, castle. D takes c4, queen c2. We're still going by the main line. Here there are different moves. Black can do a6, black can do a6, by the way, is the main move. Black can do b6, he can try c5, even c6 is more or less okay. b5. And the main move here for white is a4. This move has been played 800 times. Comparing to the move that Magnus did, knight e5, which has been played just 18 times. So it was probably nice preparation by Magnus, at least to get some play in this game. So knight e5, bishop is attacking the rook, so black can do queen d4. Interesting idea, sacrificing the exchange, attacking the knight on e5. Black can do knight d5, recovering this diagonal, and Jan did c6. This is also a possible move. Knight takes c6, not great at all. It helps, really helps to black. Now black is perfectly fine. Bishop b7 or bishop d7 is coming, queen b6. And white didn't achieve anything. He didn't develop his queen side yet. So usually taking on c6 is not a good idea here. And white is playing for the initiative. So by the way, funny thing that once again Magnus has sacrificed a pawn in the opening. So a4, threatening a takes b5, and black has only one move, because taking on a4 is definitely pretty bad, ruining black's pawn structure. Knight d5, knight c3, making just a bit more pressure on b5 and d5. f6, kicking away the knight, which was very annoying, so obviously knight f3. Black could have played b4, which is okay. In the game, Jan played queen d7. That looks a bit weird, but actually idea is quite simple, just to protect pawn on b5. Because otherwise it's a bit hard to do. Always in case of a6, maybe there is ideas of a takes b5 and Using this pin, white can take on b5. So after queen d7, e4, knight b4, queen e2, knight d3, placing the knight to nice square. Also, the problem for black at the moment that, like if you pay attention to his pawn structure, it's definitely something wrong with his pawn structure. And white has nice positional move, which is e5, using the fact that black had bad development. His rook on a5 can be under attack, so that's why e5. And actually g2 bishop is aiming rook on a8. So that's why black played bishop b7. E takes f6, bishop takes f6, knight e4, knight a6. And here it was like we can call this position as critical moment of the game. And if I don't mind, Carlsen did his move in something like 3 or 4 minutes, maybe even less. Also, he spent some time on his previous move, knight e4. So sometimes it's really bad idea to like make a move without thinking. For example, we see our plan to make one move, then another one, and always we need to stop and think if maybe there is something better. I don't know what he missed, but after knight e5, white is not playing for advantage anymore. Instead, he could have played knight f6, that gives white advantage. For example, if rook f6, then knight e5, possible. If g takes f6, then bishop h6. And similar to the first game, white has bishop pair, white has decent compensation for the pawn, but there is one important difference. We still have queens on the board, so that's definitely in white's favor. And especially since black king is pretty open. But instead he played knight e5, but then after bishop e5, d takes e5, knight c5, there is no advantage for white. So probably he missed something. Knight d6, knight b3, and white is forced to sacrifice the exchange. Also, like in the game he played rook b1, probably it was better to play bishop e3, knight a1, rook a1, and having decent compensation. Also probably white is not playing for a win, as well as black. In the game it was rook b1, knight takes c1, rook takes c1, knight takes c1, rook takes c1, rook b8. Rook b8, rook d1, and let's stop here. It's something really unbalanced and something hard to evaluate. It's clear that white has decent compensation for the exchange, but still probably if somebody is playing for a win here, it's black. Bishop a8. First of all, preventing a takes b5 as a threat, and also maybe preparing b takes a4. Usually when we have rook placed opposite to the queen, there are ideas like knight b5, but here it makes no sense since white is not interested in opening up the position and helping to black. So Magnus did very nice move, bishop e4, creating some threats on the king side. Bishop takes h7, classical sacrifice, followed by queen h5, then rook d4, rook h4. So it was better for black to play g6, but instead Jan some way decided to sacrifice a pawn. Then white went for queen c2, attacking the pawn on h7. So g6, b takes c3, b takes a4, queen a4. And still white has decent compensation. His knight on d6 is very powerful. Black king is kind of weak. Bishop on a8 is pretty bad, so that's why after rook d8, rook a1, finally black was able to trade this bishop. Queen c4, bishop e4, knight e4, threatening knight f6. Black has to play king h8, and now nice move, knight d6, placing this knight back to d6. Very nice square for the knight. Always there are some tricks. And also white even doesn't have a single pawn for the exchange. Position is about equal. Black has no advantage and white has no advantage. Rook b6, queen c5, b8, king g2, a6. Here it's funny move, king h3, preventing queen c6, trading the queens. By the way, if black would play queen c6 on previous move, then after queen takes, rook takes a7, rook takes c3, white is fine. White is out of danger here, and only black can have some problems here. So that's why he didn't play queen c6. He went for a6. Now king h3, prophylactical move against queen c6. And also black has a passed pawn on the queen side. It's really hard to do something. He would dream about trading the queens and then converting his advantage. But with queens on the board, black king doesn't feel himself comfortable. Rook c6, queen d4, king g8, c4, queen c7, queen g4, attacking the pawn on e6, and finally black got opportunity to take on d6, because otherwise like it's really annoying to play with such a knight, especially since this knight can also go to f6 and attack the king. So rook d6, e takes d6, queen d6, and in fact this is already nothing, like no advantage for white, no advantage for black. And after c5, queen takes c5, queen takes e6, king g7, rook a6. Yes, black king is open, but the problem, white has no time. Like he needs probably one more move. Like if he would be able to play queen d7 followed by rook a7, that seems to be something. So that's why simply rook f8, preparing something like queen h5, queen f3, queen f5. So white has no time and he has to go f4, and then after queen f5, queen takes f5, rook takes f5, we get a well-known drawish position. So here there is nothing to talk about. 3 against 2 in rook endgame without any problems of pawn structure. It's easy draw, and eventually after some moves they agreed for draw. So this game was really exciting, and we can see both players have some problems about taking some decisions. Also, this game was very interesting. Actually, it's hard to say if any of them had a real chance to win the game. I mean, both sides didn't have a serious advantage. So most part of the game, both players played well. Also, definitely there are moments that could be improved. Thank you. See you.